Hey, what are two little girls laughing and running around at a woman's shelter and a man that I was speaking to in the Ukraine while drones were flying overhead? What do those two things have in common? This episode, I'm going to get personal. I'm going to get serious. We're going to talk about the things that we slowly start to normalize. Please join me.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, welcome back to Franchise Pitfalls and Profits. Today, honestly, I'm just going to take a little bit of a step away from business and growth and some of the things I've been really talking about and usually talk about on this podcast. I'm going to get a little bit more personal because this weekend, two specific moments happened to me that I just haven't been able to get it off my mind. I haven't been able to shake it, and I think they're connected. And honestly, they connect, or they're connecting for me anyway, to my daily and my weekly focus. And so anyway, I just wanted to pause this week and share this with you because this weekend our church was involved in what we call Impact PA or Impact Pennsylvania. Basically, it is a day of service where we have our whole church on the same day working on specific projects and so on in our own communities. We're a large church, 26 campuses around the state of Pennsylvania. And so this was big deal. And from what I heard, we had 10 to 11,000 different people give at least an hour to serve in some capacity in their community. My group was serving breakfast at a women's shelter where I'm on the board of directors. And honestly, it was a beautiful morning. People were caring. You could see women kind of talking and caring about each other. We brought in a home-cooked breakfast meal. We had light conversations with some of the women. There was some laughter and certainly a lot of smiles. And I think, we were seeing people the way Jesus saw people. And there were two little girls there, about 7 years old or so. And they were just being kids. They were just having fun. They were running around, they were laughing, they were playing hide and seek, and they were crawling under a nearby table. And honestly, it was good in kind of this somber area where women are going through a lot of difficult things. It was sort of a breath of fresh air. Kids could still be kids in this scenario. But at the same time, I just couldn't stop thinking they shouldn't even be here. And I don't mean this critically toward anybody. Life can be hard. I've heard it said that we're two really bad back-to-back decisions away from being homeless or being in this kind of a situation. So I'm not judging their moms or any of the women that were there, but because I know life is complicated and life is hard and situations get complicated and people go through things. But somewhere along the way, we almost normalize these things that should be breaking our hearts. A 7-year-old girl living in a woman's homeless shelter. This should never feel ordinary. So again, that was one of the two things that happened to me over the weekend. Earlier, I was on a Zoom call with a friend of mine from the Ukraine. Isn't technology incredible? Can be halfway around the world speaking to someone on a totally different continent. And we stay in touch and we talk and we pray for each other's lives and what's going on. So we're talking and suddenly, the camera starts kind of moving around. I could see he's kind of getting out of it. He was sitting in his car, and all of a sudden he points the camera up to the sky and across the sky, very, very low. I mean, just over the building roofs and tops, there were two drones flying. This wasn't in a movie. This wasn't on the news. This was real life for him. And then as he's getting back in his car, he kind of pans, and he wasn't alarmed himself. And there were people walking down the street. One woman, I think, looked up, but everybody else just kept walking. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how completely normal this war had become. People walking around, not even looking up at the sound anymore. Life just continuing for them. And it just struck me that in a good way, I guess, that human beings can adapt to almost anything, even things that were never meant to become normal. And honestly, I'm amazed. I think that can be, I think it's remarkable in a lot of regards, but I think it's terrible. And I think it's dangerous because sometimes survival causes us to stop being shocked. And maybe that's where my mind went kind of spiritually as well. I was listening to a sermon, a gentleman out of Tennessee, a pastor, Alan Jackson, and he just said something that really stuck with me. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, if Christ is the center of our lives, and if we are truly, truly followers of Jesus, it should be in our everyday life. It should be in all of our situations. The conversation should never stay away from Jesus and the hope that he brings and the things that he does for us and the way our lives are changed. And not in some weird or forced way. And I'm not saying preaching, but honestly, and I do this, I talk about my grandkids and even my adult kids now, talk about them very naturally. I talk about my sports teams very, very naturally. Talk a lot about business all the time. Talk about careers and starting businesses and entrepreneurship naturally all the time. We talk about the things that we care about, and we talk about them naturally. So why aren't we talking more about Jesus in our lives? Why are we living these faiths where we kind of hide it? And why do we act like Jesus belongs only like on Sunday mornings or inside the church building, but not out in public and not out in our normal lives? I just started to realize that part of the reason, I think, is because we have also normalized spiritual silence. We've normalized compartmentalizing our faith. We've normalized seeing brokenness around us every day and not letting it move us anymore. And maybe the scariest part of all of this normalization is when something becomes normal, eventually we stop seeing it. We stop seeing loneliness. We stop seeing homelessness. We stop seeing brokenness. We stop seeing addictions. We stop seeing trouble in marriages. We stop seeing anxiety. We stop seeing hopelessness. We stop seeing people carrying the weight of their lives and sometimes the weight of the world on them. We definitely stop seeing the opportunities for us to bring them hope, to bring life and hope into their situations. We become emotionally accustomed to all of this brokenness around us. And then on Sunday, and then on Sundays, we kind of, yay, Jesus, Last Sunday on Impact Pennsylvania Day, our pastor, Jason Mitchell, said that something else that really stuck with me. And he said that, and again, I'm paraphrasing, he said, we are all called to do something, even if we can't do everything. And I love that because sometimes the needs of the world feel overwhelming. My friend in the Ukraine, my heart breaks that he and his wife and their 3 kids have to live through this. And yet he chose to stay in his country, to serve God, to serve his fellow man. And they're actually opening churches. They're doing church plants, bringing the hope of Jesus to the Ukraine during an ugly, ugly, terrible, difficult time. We look sometimes at homelessness. We look at war. We look at depression. We look at divisions. We look at families struggling. We see people drifting spiritually. We see even in the church, marriage and divorce rates the same as the secular world, the non-faith world. I'm getting overwhelmed just thinking about all of these things. But honestly, sometimes for me, it just seems easier to emotionally disconnect because these problems just seem so big. But maybe following Jesus was never about fixing everything. Maybe it was about doing something that we can have an impact on. Certainly believe that following Jesus is to refuse to be numb to all of this. It's about staying compassionate. Following Jesus, I think, is about staying compassionate about fellow man and what's going on in the world. Again, Jason said over the weekend in the message on Sunday, he said, compassion is all about action and doing something. And he said that compassion without action is pity. And I don't want to pity people. I want to have an impact. My life statement is to radically and relentlessly impact lives to the glory of God. So I don't know what it is for you. For me, it was about serving on a board of directors where we have these shelters and we have a community center. Over the weekend, it was about serving breakfast and laughing with the little kids. Sometimes maybe it's just encouraging people. I remember just a personal story of seeing a woman on the other side of the gas stations when we're self-serving, and I was in a hurry and I was late for a meeting, but I noticed she was just kind of standing there staring at the machine. And I went around and I helped her get gas. And she said, "Oh, thanks a lot. This is the first time in my life I've ever pumped gas." And I said, "Really? How does that happen?" And she said, "Oh, my husband passed away last week, and he was the one who always pumped the gas." Sometimes it's just, we have to see what's around us. Are we seeing what's around us? Have that encouraging word for someone, have an honest conversation with someone, help a family that's a neighbor, show up at least once in a while. You can't do everything, but do something. I think sometimes we underestimate what can happen when ordinary people consistently see what's going on around them and do something about it. Jesus is our greatest example of seeing the needs and walking toward them, not looking the other way. So that breakfast matters. That encouraging word matters. That women at the shelter we were out, they matter. Those kids matter. Honestly, my friend in the Ukraine reminded me of something too. He said that people all over the world are carrying these realities that most of us can barely imagine, and yet life keeps moving on. I'm not always, but I'm periodically am asking him, how close are you to the war? And obviously with drones now flying overhead over the years, this war has just gotten closer and closer and closer to him. And when he says, "Oh, it's about 5 miles away from me," in my mind, where I live, I'm thinking, okay, where's 5 miles from now? Oh my gosh. I just can't believe the realities that he and Ukrainians are going through. So I think followers of Christ, please, we need to wake up to the humans and the people around us. Jesus said that he came to this earth so that no one will be lost. And Jesus never seemed to be numb. There wasn't a problem that he wasn't going to go to. He noticed everybody. He did not walk past anyone. And so maybe the challenge I'm taking away personally this week is not to be so numb, so desensitized, if that's a word. Not to let broken things start feeling too normal, not letting them overwhelm me to the point where I don't move, but also don't let them feel normal. And to stop keeping my faith so private when hope is exactly what people need. So I think this connects to business too, to be honest with you. Studies have been showing that for a number of years now has been showing that people want to do business with companies that are about more than just the service or the product that they're making money on. And so I used to joke or laugh at the Subaru commercials. Subaru means love or something like that. But if you see Subaru commercials anywhere on TV, they're always donating money to a homeless shelter or to a pet shelter. They're always doing something with some of the profits that they're making. And this is what people are, consumers are expecting of companies. So they want you to stand for something more than just making you rich. They're not looking for perfect companies, but they're looking for purposeful companies, companies that care about people, companies that care about humanity, companies that contribute, their employees contribute, companies that have values that actually show up and impact real lives. So I think part of that starts with you if you're an owner, starts with you if you're a leader of a company. And again, whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, you can do this too. You can step up and step in and make a difference. You can show compassion as well by the way you lead and by the way you build the business that you're involved in. So I'm not saying force your beliefs on anybody. Like I said, this is a message that can be for people that aren't followers of Jesus. You can make a difference. You can be compassionate. Your company and your employees can stand for more than just the money that you're making and the salaries that you earn. I'm just saying live differently. And followers of Jesus, you're commanded to do this, to live differently, to care differently, to see people differently. So anyway, make this part of your routines, make this part of your businesses. I'm working on the phrase, what am I hunting for now? And I want to hunt in a way that impacts people's lives differently and in a greater way. And that's what I'm going after. That's why I really felt it was so important to share this message. We spend most of our waking hours, like 65, 70, 80% of our waking hours in our businesses. If you're an owner, you're building your businesses. Shouldn't at least a part of that work to contribute to something meaningful and something beyond just yourself and to your community and the people around us? Shouldn't it? I think people are hungry for that right now. Consumers are showing in surveys that they want companies that have meaning and purpose. So anyway, thanks for listening today. I appreciate your being with me, and stick around for more as we continue to Monday mornings, continue to bring you business as well as once in a while, get a little bit personal.